What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and today I'm back with another video for Last Man Standing. Hopefully, this is going to be the start of a new series, sort of helping you guys to get to know us a bit better, with top 10 lists, such as our top 10 favourite matches and top 10 favourite pay-per-views. So I thought I would start off with, today, my top 10 favourite wrestling matches of all time. Starting off with number 10 being Sasha Banks versus Bayley from TakeOver Brooklyn. I love this match. This is probably my favourite women's match of all time. It has so much good moves in it and bits like that. But the main reason I love it is because there's a very obvious face and heel dynamic. You've got Bayley as the lovable underdog in this match. With a tribute to Dusty Rhodes, who has not long passed away. And you've got Sasha Banks as the bad heel, being rolling up in an Escalade with private security and decked out in jewellery and a ring gear. And then the crisp storytelling of this match, where Bayley's arm is injured, so what's her name? Sasha Banks, is targeting that the entire time, even kicking her hand into the steel steps. But ultimately, we see Bayley target Sasha Banks and manage to hit a Hurricane Runner off the top rope, and then a Bayley to belly, 1, 2, 3, the emotional victory for Bayley. An amazing match, in my opinion. By the way, guys, I'm not going to do any of these matches justice, because I am not going to go move for move. So, if you like the matches I'm suggesting, make sure you go check them out. Number 9 is Edge versus Mick Foley, hardcore match at WrestleMania 22. I love the story of this match, because unlike some weapons matches, each weapon helped to tell a specific spot and story of the match. For example, they started off by the barbed wire spear, where where Edge went for a spear on Mick Foley, but was ultimately injured because Mick Foley had wrapped barbed wire around himself. And then we had the spot where Edge is beating Mick Foley down with weapons, but he's still kicking out. So he gets thumbtacks from the ring, puts them in the ring, goes for a bulldog, but ultimately it becomes his undoing because he hits he is placed into the thumbtacks, slammed into the thumbtacks. And then the coup de grace for this match, spear through the flaming table, and Edge ultimately gets the win. This fun fact was actually the first wrestling match I ever saw, and I was hooked for life, guys. Number 8 is Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. I don't have to say much about this match, but for the sake of the content, I will. I love in this match the wrestling machine versus the almost traditional pro wrestling thing. Amateur wrestling versus pro wrestling. So we see a lot of a lot of headlocks and slams and stuff. And some spots in this match include an angle slam from the top rope, an angle slam on the apron, the super kick out of nowhere when Kurt Angle is telling Michaels to stay down. And then obviously the finish, which is the ankle lock, which is Michaels is in for a long period of time, goes for an ankle lock, goes to tap out, and then eventually Michaels taps out, and you just feel spent after watching this match because it's so energetic and fast paced. But unlike matches of today, there's not many false finishes, which I think is cool. Number 7 is CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar from SummerSlam 2013. The main reason this match is on this list is because, obviously, during the previous match, Paul Heyman had betrayed CM Punk. And I love the way that Brock Lesnar, although he is a Ultimate Fighting machine, Paul Heyman helps him in moments of this match. So, basically, if CM Punk hadn't been distracted by Paul Heyman, he could have won the match. So we see a moment where it looks like Punk's going to win. off a go to sleep from Lesnar, and then Paul Heyman gets involved, and CM Punk decks him and locks in the Anaconda Vice, and then finally he, and then ultimately that becomes his undoing because Lesnar's able to counter a move and hit an F5 on a chair for the win. Number 6 is Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa NXT TakeOver New Orleans. I love this match because it's so brutal but such good storytelling at the same time. So we see the crutch being used a lot, which is what Ciampa used to attack Gargano when he first returned. We see the knee brace used, which obviously Ciampa used during his recovery after the TakeOver Chicago match. We see road signs and fighting in the crowd and bits like that. But ultimately, Johnny Gargano, whose job is on the line during this match, is able to win and keep his job or get his job back in NXT. It never really made sense to me, that bit. But yeah. We then see number 5 is CM Punk versus John Cena from Money in the Bank 2011. The reason I love this match is because we see what we would consider traditional heels and baby faces flipped around. So what WWE is portraying as the good guy is made the bad guy, and then what WWE is trying to portray as the bad guy becomes the good guy. And obviously you had the pipe bomb promo leading up to this, and all the promos between Punk and Cena. We then would see in the match traditional wrestling, we'd see some brawling, and then towards the finish we would see Mr. McMahon come down, because if Punk won, he was going to leave the company with the belt because his contract expired. So Mr. McMahon goes to do another Montreal Screwjob. Him and John Laurinaitis, who's at ringside with him, Cena basically stops them, gets hit with a go to sleep, and loses the match. And Punk, for a few weeks anyway, takes the title. I love this match. Number 4 is Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair at WrestleMania 24. Not much needs to be said about this one other than, I'm sorry, I love you. Basically, the story leading up to this was, if Ric Flair lost the match after being announced for the Hall of Fame, he would have to retire. And he'd been beating people right up until Mania 24 when he ultimately lost to Shawn Michaels. And then we see traditional wrestling, the Nature Boy putting out his greatest hits, such as the Flair Flop, the Flair Strut, and the Figure 4, until finally he's hit with one super kick, and then Michaels gets him up for a second one, goes, I'm sorry, I love you, super kick, 1, 2, 3. The Nature Boy's legendary career in WWE is finally over. Number 3 is Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar from Survivor Series. Excuse me, guys. 2018. The reason I love this match so much is because I've never felt so much fear like that you were supposed to fear from a wrestling match. So every time, because of Bryan's injured neck, he took a suplex, I could feel myself wincing. And then because he just turned heel on the previous SmackDown, when the referee's knocked down and he uses the dirty tactic of kicking Brock Lesnar in the balls, I love seeing the big running knee. You think Bryan will finally do it, and then the label lock, and then ultimately, after a few moves, he goes for another running knee that's countered into an F5, and Brock ultimately wins. I can't say anything more about this match other than you should watch it. Number 2 is Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. Again, not much I can say about this match, but the story leading up to it was Shawn Michaels wanted a rematch with The Undertaker after coming so close to defeating the Streak at the previous year's WrestleMania. And Undertaker ultimately declined. So we would see Michaels go to try and win the Rumble, but be unsuccessful. So he would later cost The Undertaker the World Heavyweight title in the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match. And we would see chops in this match. We would see Michaels targeting Undertaker's leg. and we would see a super kick onto an announce table and a moonsault by Michaels back, which Undertaker had previously injured, being worked on. We would then see, towards the end of the match, Undertaker would hit a tombstone and Michaels would kick out. He would then pull himself up on Undertaker, slap Undertaker in the face, and Undertaker basically goes, yep, similar to Ric Flair, I'm going to finish you now. Second tombstone, and Michaels' legendary career is over. And number 1 is Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes from Double or Nothing 2019. Everybody that has a sibling understands sibling rivalry. And even though the moves in this match are very basic because of Dustin Rhodes' advanced stage, you see a lot of moments where Dustin is still pulling out the greatest hits, and then Cody, there's all the blood and everything, and then ultimately, after using the horse analogy to put him down after injuring his leg, Cody wins with a crossroads after a Cody cutter, 1, 2, 3, and then you just see them both embracing in the ring because they know that this new venture is going to work. Like, I can't say enough good things about all the matches on my list, guys. Make sure you check them all out. Make sure you subscribe to Last Man Standing, and I will see you in the next video. Make sure you subscribe. Bye-bye.